These are the Vespid II Cinema Primes from DZOfilm, a reinvention of the original Vespid Primes, which have been some of our best-selling cinema lenses for the last few years. They're a completely new optical design. They're smaller than ever, and they even feature smart connections like Cooke data and a Lemo Data port as well. Both of those are incredibly rare to see on lenses at this price point. Bring all of this together, and the Vespid IIs are a huge step forward over the originals, and potentially some of the most complete and well-rounded cinema lenses to invest in right now. So they're a set of 6 at launch: an 18, 24, 35, 50, 85 and 105mm, all of which are T1.9, which is a nice change from the originals, which were T2.1. Each lens weighs between 760 and 850 grams, which works out on average about 20% smaller than the originals, which were already very nice compact lenses to work with. Physically, they do feel very much like a refined version of the original Vespids. There's a lot here that feels very similar. Same great build quality and same resistance on the focus ring so that they're easy to work with by hand. The big difference is this port that physically sticks out of the side. It's a 5-pin Lemo, which gives real-time data on what the lens is doing, where the lens is focused, and what the iris is set to. For clarity, it can't control the lens, it tells something else what is happening with the lens. So it could feed a wireless follow focus all of that data, for example, so that you don't have to calibrate it anymore, for instance, or you can see what your iris is set to on the wireless follow focus. Or it could be fed back into a virtual production system so that the rest of the workflow knows what focal length you were on, what your iris was doing and where you're focused. That is absolutely not something we normally see on the more affordable end of cinema lenses like these ones. Very impressive. Less obvious, but just as important, is the Cooke protocol pins on the lens mount. This lets the lenses communicate with the camera, saving what focal length you were using in the metadata, for example. Again, very useful. They're only available in PL mounts and all have an 80mm front diameter with a 77mm filter thread inside. But the main thing people are going to want to know with these is the new optical design. How do they actually look? DZO have updated the lens elements, the coatings, even the way they polish them in production. These might be called the Vespid IIs, but optically, they're completely different lenses. And they look fantastic. Very detailed, lovely out of focus areas, and a nice, neutral, slightly warm character to them. There's a lot to like here. Let's look at our showroom tests. In this interview style test, they look great. Nice and consistent, and the combination of the detail and fast T1.9 aperture really makes Ben stand out from the background on every single focal length, even though he is relatively close to the background fairy lights here. We did move the camera in this test, by the way, so that the framing roughly matches as we went through the range of focal lengths. The bokeh looks great, and we will look at them against the original Vespids later on in the video, which is where you can see the clear difference, but this is a big improvement. Nice, clean bokeh with no visible onion skinning. Breathing is very well under control. The 105 and 85 have none at all that I can see, and as you get wider through the range, each lens has ever so slightly more, but we're talking very small amounts, nothing that would really cause any issues for most people. In our sharpness tests, they do very well as well. Minimal sharpness difference in the center between T1.9 and T4, and at the edges, we do see some vignetting and a drop in sharpness when wide open, but not a crazy amount. Some is expected, as always, and I actually think this amount looks quite nice personally. We also have no complaints from the flaring tests. As I shined this light backwards and forwards, flares are very under control. They're there, but quite subtle, with a soft blue hazing around the light source and a soft blue orb. This gets more pronounced as we get wider, especially the orb, but this is very well under control, while still being there to give that little bit of character to the lenses. I think they look great, and they're very consistent as well across the range, which is excellent to see. So overall, very impressive results really. These are well-performing lenses, especially when you consider the size, the price, and that they have those extra features as well, like the data port and the Cooke support. It's fantastic value for money. But what people are really going to want to see is how different they are to the original Vespids, and then how well do they match up against the larger and the faster Arles lenses. Now, the only focal length which we actually had all three of in the building at the same time while filming this was the 35mm. So we filmed this interview style shot of Liam with the 35mm from each of those sets, Vespid 1s, Vespid 2s and the Arles, all wide open on each in 12K on the Ursa Cine LF, with the Arles set to ISO 400 rather than ISO 800 in order to match the exposure with its faster t1.4 aperture. Let's focus the original Vespid and new Vespid 2s to start with. The first thing you notice when flicking between them is that the original Vespid is darker, of course, because it's T2.1, and actually shifts quite a bit more towards magenta, while the new Vespid 2 is much warmer and more flattering on his skin. There's also a big difference in the bokeh. The Vespid 2 has a bit more cat's eye swirling going on, which I think looks really nice. And it fixes the main criticism I've always had of the original Vespids, which was this odd squishing that they did to the bokeh right at the edges of frame. It sort of squashed into an odd shape and cut in strange places. The Vespid 2s are much more consistent all the way from the middle to the edge. In my opinion, this is a massive improvement, and it's the kind of improvement you normally see from stepping up to a lens that costs twice as much, if not way more. Both are very detailed though. If we zoom right in on Liam's face, you can barely see any difference in detail between the two sets. So it's clear to see the Vespid 2s are a big step up over the originals, but the real surprise came when you put them side by side with the Arles. They match really well. The Arles is faster, of course, at T1.4. It might not sound a huge amount faster, but as you can see here, it does make a really big difference to how shallow that background is. The Arles look fantastic in the background behind him. And the colour is so much more consistent between the Vespid 2 and the Arles than it was with the original Vespid. If we look at them all at once, you can clearly see that the colour on the Arles and the Vespid 2 look almost identical. If you needed to work with both, perhaps on an A camera and a B camera to have the Vespid 2s as your lighter weight lenses on set, they're going to match very well. So overall, the Vespid 2s are a big step forwards for DZOfilm. They're so easy for me to recommend. I mean, they look great, they're small and lightweight, reasonably priced, just like the original Vespids were, and they're more future-proof than ever because they've got that data port and the Cooke eye pins. Combine all of that together, and these are a really solid investment if you're after some small, mid-range cinema primes. So if you want to order some for yourself, head over to ProV, and if you want to try them out for yourself, please do get in touch with our sales team, who would be happy to arrange a demo for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.